Hey neighbors, the Handyman here with Initiative Coffee Company, the Bill Allan here with Bill Allan World and the Bill Allan. It is time to rise and roll.
Rise and roll. Thanks, buddy. All right, it's Monday and it's February. Monday. It's cold here in Chicago, but Brian, we're gonna warm people up with our amazing content for this episode.
Sure.
So we have been planning all week for this show, and we have some amazing stuff for you guys. So if you're live in the chat right now, like our good friend Douglas. We're going to talk about some Kickstarter stuff this episode. We're going to talk about some cool things going on in the greater gaming community. We're going to talk about some upcoming cons. We're going to talk about some table topics. And we're going to give some book recommendations. Sure. And, of course, Monster Monday. So
we'll probably rehash LionCon now that we're on the high side of that.
That's a good
idea.
Idea.
Full episode.
It is.
That's like 2 episodes worth of content just for you.
It's going to be a roller coaster. So strap in, and here we go. So let's start with the kick and the starters, Brian.
Sure.
We had taken a look at a few cool things. Now, those of you who watch the show will know that I'm a sucker for the terrains and the minis and the things and the toys, basically the toys. So I'm posting a link here in the chat for y'all to follow along. And if you're watching this show later on the YouTubes, you can check this out. But it is it's interesting, Brian, because it's not quite our typical terrain. It's not like 3D printer STL files. It's not Dwarven Forge knockoff 3D terrain pieces.
Right.
It's not minis. It's actually map books. And when I first saw the title, I was like, dude, I can make my own maps. Why would I buy someone else's maps? Like, you can get maps for free on Pinterest. Like, but then we watched the video and discovered what it really looked like. So here's what it looks like. And that's where Dave cuts to black for a few seconds. So I know where to edit. Are you in black? Okay. So wait about 10 seconds. And then this is where I'm going to roll in the video. But if you're watching live, that's where you click on the link that I put in the text box of the chat. And then we're going to come back up in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So, Brian.
Yes.
Tanner Yarro. This is his first ever created thing.
Sure.
And
he's already killing it.
Yes. And it's what I like about this, Brian, is that it's that big book, which is 2 11 by 17 pieces of paper. So when he says it's huge, it's not. I mean, it's not.
It's fair sized.
But when you think about it, though, 22 by whatever that is, 2 11 by 17s together, 22 by 17. Yeah, I was going to say 34, but it's not. 22 by.
That would be 4.
But that's the middle of your gaming table. So if we had a small gaming group of 4 people, that would be this.
Yeah.
Everybody would have it access and reach. And a bigger, size dining room table or double gaming table like what we use, that would still be kind of in the middle. Everybody would have their room for character sheets and dice and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, you know what? It's kind of a good-ish size.
Sure.
I like that he's got that finish on it.
Yeah.
I like that you can accessorize it. I like that you could draw on it.
You can put little vinyl guys on it. Yeah, so the quality of the product is good. I don't have any issues with the quality of the product. My only concern is with so many of these pre-made situations.
Yes.
It limits what you can put on your table.
Yeah,
right?
it gives you encounters already.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't tell you what to stock in those locations, but it basically gives you locations.
And to say that it's like a replacement for drawn maps because you don't have to draw maps,
I think that's a bit of a stretch.
Sure. But other than that, the quality of the product's good. I think he's asking a pretty fair price. If not, he might be not asking enough for the quality of the pages.
Yes. I was shocked.
Yeah.
I could go buy 2 books for $60.
Yeah.
And now I could layer them. I could have one be the water book and one be the beach book, or I could have multiple bars, dungeons, buildings, whatever.
And it's interesting because so often with these Kickstarters, we see people overvaluing their product.
Yeah.
And to see someone undervaluing their product is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I also will say that I like the fact that the design includes thoughts about how people would use this on the table. So they have that special binding that lets you, lay everything flat. It's resistant to spills, which I think is important. I think one of the things that attracted me to it is that I thought about when we go play games somewhere. If you go, whether it's your local
it's
gaming
super
group,
good for like a portable, for like a mobile group, right? If you're playing in a library or at a bar
or at a convention, you're bringing your stuff.
Yeah, like it's a lot easier to transport than like a 4-foot tube with a mondo mat in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I think, you know what, I would give this a thumbs up. I don't know if I'd personally back it because, again, I'm already invested. But if I was a new player,
it's definitely a nice way to, like, it's a nice first step. It's pretty affordable. Like, if you are a new player or if you typically do, like, Theater of the Mind and you want to, like, start in on, like, mapping and, like, 3D stuff.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. I did notice he took a pot shot at your scatter terrain.
Yes.
And I thought,
and that's fine because here's the thing: it does break my heart a little bit, but there's truth in that. If I'm going to a meetup, and we're gonna run D&D at this local bar or this local whatever our venue is, or a library game, me having to bring all the terrain is a hassle, dude. Yeah. And that book makes it kind of super convenient. It is limited,
sure,
but the price is reasonable. Yeah. Seems to me. Like for the quality of what you're getting, so I would absolutely back that. But of course, we want to know what you guys would think. So check that link out, and if it's something that you decide to back, let us know because we kind of are curious about. I'd love to see even after it fulfills to see like, hey, send us a link to the unboxing. Like if you want to unbox it and show it to us and show us how you use it, that'd be cool.
Post your video for sure.
Yeah. Brian, I got another Kickstarter.
Sure.
And this is the one that you wanted to share with the group.
Yeah.
And I'm happy you did because we were kind of struggling. A lot of the what's hot on Kickstarter right now is just more of the same of what we've done. Yeah, 3D printed terrain, that kind of stuff. So this is Icarus. Tell the audience a little bit about it. I'll post this in the links below.
Right. So Icarus is a dice stacking game produced by Ivan Van Norman and probably his publishing company.
Yeah, Hunters. This is like their fifth, I think, that they've done.
Yeah, so they've done quite a few Kickstarters. They did like the D&D, the ABCs of D&D. I think they kickstarted. They did what was the zombie survival-ish game?
The Outbreak Undead thing.
Undead, yeah.
Yep.
So they've done Outbreak. They've done a couple of other things. Ivan is, I'll say it, a friend of Initiative Coffee Company.
He's
a
perhaps
cool guy.
One of the nicest people I've ever met in the community.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they did Outbreak Undead. They did ABCs of RPGs. They did second edition Survivor Kit. So a lot of the Outbreak Undead thing.
Outbreak Deep Space.
Deep Space survival horror, and all of them successfully funded. So,
so he's got this new Kickstarter. It's a dice stacking game. It's it reminds me of every like fidgety D&D player's penchant for stacking dice, wrapped up in a wonderful game. Price point is maybe a little high, but I don't know. We've scanned it very quickly. It launched yesterday, so I'm not sure like the quality of the products involved. I suppose like there's a PDF version of it for like $10 or $15.
Yeah, there's the cheaper versions, and then there's more deluxe editions that you see, where you get tons more of like the crate edition, where you get like the dice, you get the additional accessories. Right. Yeah, but I mean,
so the
digital accessibility pack is $5. That's nothing.
For sure, it's worth taking a look at. I might do this just to like throw him some.
Yeah, I mean the digital version. If you could play it why not?
My guess is like you can replace their D6s with any D6s.
Right.
So you throw $5 at it, you get a cool new kind of like, I'm sure it's a quick game. So, yeah.
Yeah, so here's how some of this reads. Each player will be dealt a Pillar of Society card that will represent a key element of Icarus that you will explore during the game. Art, technology, agriculture, law, energy, social structures, etc. Each of the Pillar of Society cards have the choice of either a strength or a weakness prompt to answer. Players will collectively choose only one of their pillars to be a weakness at the beginning of the game, but that crumbling pillar will serve as a crucial narrative force in the story to come. It seems like almost like taking concepts from computer games, like Civilization,
Sure.
and then making those challenges, those realistic kind of historical challenges that you see over and over with civilizations, and making it into a narrative game that employs these cards and these dice and kind of the collective storytelling. Sure. I dig it. I
It'd
like
be
that.
interesting to see like how historically or like geologically accurate, like if there's a volcano eruption, how that plays out in terms of like,
right. So you have, this is kind of how some of the conflicts, as characters attempt to affect the world around them in accordance with their motives, players place dice on the aspects their characters are looking to change within the city. When resolving these dice, on a success, the die returns to the pool and the player has the chance to create or modify an aspect. But on a failure, the problem escalates and the dice must be added to the ever-growing tower at the center of the table. So it's when you fail to resolve it that you create that dread scenario. So yeah,
I mean that's an amusing aspect here too, is he's been pretty successful leveraging dread, and he's just found a way to like make a dread game that's not a dread game.
Yeah. So for $60, if you want the physical stuff, you get the rule book, 24 custom dice, story deck, and aspect sheet. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, yes, the price point's kind of high in a sense, but when I think about like a standard D&D book, it's $50 for just a book. This is a book, a bunch of dice, a mat, cards.
I guess I forget that this is like a full RPG,
right?
Rather than just like a dice stacking game, right? Like this is in a similar vein to some of the like phone app RPGs where like Weave is $50, $60, but like it comes with every update they ever produce and the card set. There's another one called. Nope, not coming up with it.
Okay.
But there's another like card-based phone app RPG that I got for Christmas.
And you can and you could play it. And see, this is what I was going to say. If you're don't be scared off by that $65 for the physical copy, because as you were saying, you can get the digital copy. You could go to like stores like Learning Express, or I mean, you can order online unmarked dice.
Yeah.
And you could literally carve in your own pillar design.
Or just
and create
use
your
regular
own custom,
dice.
Or use regular
decide,
dice.
Like threes are this type of
right.
Like whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, there are a lot of ways to make that viable still. I think, which is cool. So, all right, Brian.
Yep.
We are kind of moving on from Kickstarter. Sure. Although what we're going to talk about in the first table topic, though, is related to gaming accessories, product. And ordering things, and that's because we're going to talk about Realmsmith.
Sure.
So Jason is a content creator that we know from the IRCA, and
he's up in Ontario.
He does a little bit of everything in the world of gaming. But yeah, he's got some cool stuff going on with Realmsmith. So
just a little bit of background. He is the owner of Realmsmith. He's the community manager for Vallejo Paints. And he has another full-time job. So like he's a busy guy.
Yes.
But the Realmsmith crate is cool. Like it's cool stuff. And you don't have to take my word for it, because in the last 2 months it's grown 10 times its size in subscriptions.
I think part of that is Jeremy from Blackmagic Craft did a unboxing of one of the crates and showcased it, and it really kind of opened people's eyes to the variety of things they have. And we've done crates before.
Yeah,
we've talked about Dungeon Crate, we've talked about Geek Crates and all that kind of stuff.
In fact, I think he's gonna get us a crates on
Yeah.
box at some point.
But I just if you go to the link that I posted below, it's realmsmith.tv, you could kind of see what they have in their crates. So, for example, they say our crates feature Vallejo, WizKids, Reaper, a bunch of other symbols that I don't necessarily know, Fat Dragon Games. So they have a lot of variety of stuff. Their subscription rate is, to me, that seems very affordable compared to other crates. Is that's $4.99 per month? Is that just the membership?
That's the membership. The crate is right around 50.
Okay.
And I think it's bi-monthly or quarterly.
Okay. So this is kind of an extra community component that you get. And I think obviously he showcases a lot of the stuff that you would see from these crates, whether it's used in some of the actual play stuff that he does, or some of his painting and crafting kind of tutorials, that kind of stuff.
I know he does actual plays on Facebook every other Monday, I think, if you follow Realmsmith on Facebook.
Yeah, and it's not just D&D. He's got Pathfinder stuff here. He's got, whole variety of stuff.
Real system neutral stuff.
Yeah. So I think what I think is kind of interesting is I'm actually going to open up the monthly crate stuff. First of all, it's limited.
70 USD.
Yeah. So first of all, it's limited. So there's like the March Encounter crate, for example. There's only 100 available, and it looks like, again, we've talked about like price versus value. If you thought about just the paints, sometimes those high quality paints would cost would cover more than half. Yeah, right.
And this goes into a long line of commentary we've had about products in the past with Beetle and Grimm and with the sailing ship that launches soon from WizKids. This isn't for every gamer, and it's not meant to be. Right? Like, this is for people who want to really take their game to the next level. I think the Realmsmith crate is on the bottom end of this, in terms of the price point. $70 is kind of a lot, but the thing to keep in mind is this isn't a monthly crate; it's a bi-monthly crate, right? So really, it's $40, $35 for the crate. Yeah, because he puts in enough stuff to warrant 2 months worth of crates. Yeah.
I think that's absolutely huge in terms of what your value versus everything. I mean that's kind of a big deal, and I see him expanding that too as the channel grows, as more people become aware of what the crate offers. I think more companies are going to be able to put in, and he'll be able to offer even bigger kind of buy-in.
And I'm not sure if he has the same kind of post crate marketplace that a Dungeon Crate has. I think the big thing that keeps Dungeon Crate solvent and lucrative month to month is all of the excess stuff they have on their extra stuff marketplace that they sell. Right. And I don't know that he does. I don't know that he doesn't, but I haven't seen anything where it says he has that situation going for him.
Right. Well, here in the live chat on Twitch, Jake from Mini Terrain Domain is throwing in his testimonial, saying that those crates are gorgeous.
I agree.
So yeah, we feel, I think we're in accord with that. I think there are a lot of different subscription crates where you get a third to half of the contents that actually measure up to the stuff you're into. And
there
the
are a
rest
lot
is,
that are computer
crap.
printouts of PDFs, Adventure Crate and RPG Crate.
But this seems like everything in the crate is valuable, and applicable. It's maybe it's leans towards the fantasy side of things right now. But like I said, I think as he continues to grow, he'll have a lot more diversity in the crate. But yeah, thanks for chiming in, Jake. We haven't gotten one yet, but it would be cool if we could review it on the show.
I'm working on Jason.
And like you said, he's super busy, but we'll probably be seeing him.
At Gary Con, so.
Yeah. So, all right. Speaking of cons, next table topic, we're going to do a LionCon recap. So, Lion Con is the con that Brian and I started, and this past weekend, the first weekend actually in February, the second and third, we had Lion Con for the second time, and there was good and there was not as good. Things that we learned, things that we're going to have to try to improve on for next year. So let's start with the good. Sure. Despite the extreme cold in Chicago the week prior to Lion Con, we still had a Lion Con.
Yeah.
We still had vendors. So vendors I'm going to throw out some like a vendor review, if you will. Sure. So number one, our partnership with Fair Game. So they are the friendly local game store from a couple towns over who we partnered with.
Friendlier and local.
Yes,
this year.
They're going to be even more local as they open up a store right here in LaGrange where we are, which is awesome. So the staff were, I mean, this is not just a vendor. They didn't just set up shop to sell stuff. They were running events. Yeah. They really were anchors for us to be able to have some learn to play opportunities because LionCon is family friendly. It's open to the public. And I think the saving grace was that it wasn't just people we know coming in to play games who are like adults. We had families. Yeah. And I mean, I should say like families I know, but really it was awesome that, people could come in and Fair Game was willing to run these games. And then if you liked that game and you wanted to buy it, you could buy it because they had it there. So, but it was a really cool low pressure kind of environment. They had stuff going on for us all weekend long, and we would have been sunk without them, for sure. They were a crucial partner in LionCon. The other thing that was new that you brought in that people loved was the escape rooms.
Yeah, we had 2 escape rooms come in. And, it's something I kicked around for Galaxy Con in September, where I reached out to Just Escape in LaGrange, and I said, I'm doing this like gaming floor for this event. It's a 1-day event. Like, in my mind, like escape rooms are games. So like
they are. They're like a LARP.
They're interactive games.
You don't dress up, but you definitely have a team.
So I approached Just Escape about it for Galaxy Con, and they were excited to come out. And it's a little bit far for them to really make it work for next year. Yeah. But a con in Western Springs is huge for them, right?
Right.
And so we've done, Initiative, Elise and I at least, have done all of the rooms at Just Escape.
I think you've done almost all
3 of them.
Yeah.
So once you finish all the rooms in an escape room place, they tell you where to go next.
And let me just say, if you're a gamer watching this from anywhere and you have an escape room and you haven't done it and you've heard about it and you're like, I don't know.
Lame.
Go do it. Get some friends together and go do it. Get the family.
Do a fun thing.
Yes.
And
it is fun. And
it is.
And it's worth it. It's all those things that you love about gaming. It's like problem solving and teamwork and mystery. And it's a little bit narrative because they kind of tie in a little background story before they just put you in a room. And you do have to solve puzzles and you do have to search. It's like playing a game in real life, and it's awesome. So go do it.
Jake, I don't know where the nearest escape room to you is, but I'm sure there is one because they're a little bit like bed bugs.
Yeah, they do the search and find it because it is awesome.
It'd be a fun thing to do with like your kids. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a rough thing.
It depends on the age of the kids. Yeah. I mean, my kids enjoyed college, it. So. Oh yeah. If your kids are older, so mine are like when we did it, they were 12 and 8, and even the 8-year-old was able to do stuff. He actually came in the clutch and it's like playing D&D with your kids. Sometimes they think outside of a box because there is no box for them. So he lifted up a rug and there was like a box under the rug,
And I will say that if you're concerned about being locked in a room and having to get your way out,
it's not that.
It's not that. I know in Illinois they're not allowed to lock you in because that's called abduction.
Right.
So I'm sure it's similar in Michigan.
And you can customize your gaming experience. So if you have anxiety about that or claustrophobia. Yeah. So my sister-in-law has actual claustrophobia. She was not triggered at all because they have cameras in the rooms, and the host of the event like can talk to you over the intercom or send you messages on a screen. So if you're like, we need a hint, you know,
Right.
you can get hints. And literally, if you're like, I'm triggered, I need to get out of here, they will let you out. Like, it's not...
Like, you can get yourself out because
Right.
you just open the door
Yeah.
and you leave.
Yeah. So it's not anything that would really, you know, you talk yourself through it. But again, my sister-in-law has claustrophobia and she was okay.
I guess I would, if you have issues with anxiety, I would avoid like the zombie escape rooms.
Yeah,
and,
maybe.
like, the ones with like actors that are there to like confuse you or like get in the way.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
would
sure
agree.
that there are a lot of like just regular escape
Just
rooms.
regular kind of problem solving, puzzles, you know, mysteries, that kind of
The
stuff.
joke for me is always, because I spent a long time as a theater major and ended up with a theater minor by the time I graduated. The joke for me is it's like all of the joys of being a theater major without all of the pain in the ass of having to deal with actors.
Yeah.
So like it's a nice situation there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they so Just Escape and Fuzzy Logic came out to LionCon. They had a blast. I know I had a blast being right there with them.
And I think people, so they didn't just show up and have like a table with pamphlets. Each one of them brought these different like
Absolutely,
puzzle
Jim.
boxes and stuff that were basically you could pay to play
Yeah.
this puzzle box, and if you beat it, you got a voucher for your
like
escape
half
room.
off or whatever,
And
yeah.
basically they helped you
Yeah.
beat it. So if you paid, you're basically getting like a half off voucher to go to their escape room. And it was fun. Like every family that I knew, my neighbors were there, multiple like people that I knew that came to LionCon did this and enjoyed it with their families. Some of them, the adults did it, some with the kids, and they had a blast. So that was awesome that you brought them in. And I think...
And that whole industry is really cool because it's a very community-oriented industry, at
Yeah.
least in Chicago.
Right.
Because when, like I said, when we finished all the rooms at Just Escape, they were like, here are 4 other places you can go now. Now that you've given us all the money you're going to give us, go give money to these other people, right?
Right.
So I think for next year, we're going to try to have maybe 3 or 4 escape rooms instead of just 2.
Yeah, and it's I think the other thing that we liked about that experience too was I don't know if the stream just crapped out or if it's frozen, but if you're with us on the live stream, just hang tight. I think that it provided something different for specifically for LionCon.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we had with LionCon was we changed some things based on feedback from last year. We had fewer panels, so we didn't have as many panels.
Yeah. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave, I think the stream's dead. Carafa! Carafa!
Okay. Well, fix it. Hang tight, friends. We'll be there soon.
There we
And
go.
we're back.
Oh, and there's an advertisement, but we're back.
Well, we're back.
All right. So we were just saying that we changed some things from LionCon from first year to second year. We had fewer panels.
Yeah.
We had actually fewer vendors. Some of the vendors that couldn't make it, and then we added some vendors. So, I mean, in total, it seemed like we had enough vendors.
And the same number as, like, you know, like, I think
Like,
we had the
ultimately.
same amount ultimately.
Right.
It was a bummer to not have CM Prince.
Right.
Um,
And we
but-
didn't have artists. We had one artist. She came out like literally in the clutch the night before. She brought a
Right.
whole bunch of cool little accessories that were affordable that people could get of her artwork, her stuff. And, you know, I feel like we had the right mix in terms of vendors. Like we're getting closer, you know, to... Because I don't think we need more than one game store. We don't...
You only need so many game stores before
Right.
it just becomes redundant.
Yeah.
I'm losing it again.
Yep. So we're going to continue this just for the recording. So
Sure.
the idea is that if Yeah, I think we're totally dumped now. All right, so for the recording, we'll just say this: we have made changes to LionCon.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great panel, the Ladies Who Game,
Right.
which Elise hosted, and we had some awesome guests from Sugar Gamers and also from the Dungeon Rats and Rivals Collective. That was cool. We had special guests. The Dungeon Rats came. They're Chicago buddies of ours, so they came out and played a live episode, which was fun.
Yep.
We did Bard's Tale live. So we had some feature games.
Sure.
I think that was kind of cool.
It caused a little bit of confusion with
it did.
Bard's Tale live.
Yep.
But that's fine.
But the other thing too was that we didn't have artists.
Mm-hmm.
The Artist Alley thing kind of fell through. We had an anime screening room, and literally nobody hung out there. We had we were planning on having a costume contest, but really nobody showed up. Mm-hmm. So we just gave the one kid who dressed up like $5 and took pictures. We did have the 501st, which, if you're a Star Wars fan, these are people who, to say it's cosplay is an understatement. These are people who volunteer their time and have full Star Wars
and by
gear.
that we mean they're not organized in any affiliate way, and they're all independent people who are passionate about Star Wars and have their own costumes, and they wouldn't dream of organizing themselves in a way that would violate any copyright or other
they just show up
types of laws. They show up places and do neat things.
So it's pretty awesome that that's something that we had going. I think we learned about scheduling, the second day, first day. Doing it on Super Bowl Sunday is, statistically not a great idea.
Right.
So we're looking at maybe moving it to later in February. And I think also, spreading out the organized play was beneficial. So on day 2, you guys hosted the Adventures League content, and we had packed tables, that was good. There was a lot more open play. I need to give us, just to complete the circle of vendors, Comic Rec, the HSPPA, all these guys are on our Facebook page, for LionCon. If you see that, we're immensely grateful to all those people.
They came out despite the weather and despite some of, James's stuff was snowed into a garage, so we came out with what we could, and and our local libraries, our friends at the libraries who host gaming nights and who are very supportive of the gaming community, and might be hosting summer camp programs soon. That's which is exciting. I think all those factors considered, and we talked about this. I dropped the ball in a lot of ways in terms of trying to get the marketing together. We have logistical things that we need to do to make it more of a group effort, and I think it's all stuff that you do something, you learn what works, you learn what didn't work, and you try to make it better next time. And to that end, we've already made decisions and sat down and done scheduling to improve upon that for next year. Right. So but ultimately, here's the big picture: did we have an event where people showed up and had fun? Yes. Yep. And it was awesome. Did we grow a community around gaming? Absolutely. Yep. And people got some exposure. I think it worked well for Fair Game, because they're going to be coming to our area soon. So now people kind of know them, and we're going to be supportive of them, obviously, as much as they were supportive of us. So that was awesome. Try refreshing that page, because it's showing me that people are still following and that the stream is good. Stream? Other places. Stream, good. Still streaming. Yep. People still seeing it. There we go. Good. Okay. It's going to go to that ad again. So that's the LionCon recap. It was awesome to see, to bring together friends. We had a special visitor. One of the fans, DoD Spec Ops, showed up and spent the weekend at LionCon and hanging out with us, and it was awesome. So sorry about the intermittent. If you're live on Twitch with us, we've had some intermittent stream problems. But we're kind of going to move on now. Yeah. So, Brian, coming up, what do you have for cons? So this weekend, if you're in the Chicago area, up in Wheeling, there's a convention called CAPRI CON. I'll be paneling on 4 panels and moderating on 2. And those are creating monsters, economic systems in fantasy, streaming, whatever in general, YouTube streaming, and something else.
Yeah.
There'll be 4 of them, and my panels will be Saturday, Sunday, but I think the event goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Cool.
Gary Con's coming up the first week in March. We'll be there. We'll be busy, but if you're there, you should come find us and say hello.
Yeah, and that's GaryCon 11, so that's there's going to be a bunch of famous people there doing streams, and also just some of the legends, some of the old school masters are going to be there, both the game designers and writers, but like a lot of the artists. Like last year, like I got to meet Larry Elmore. Like this is, like a
that
person.
Was at Gen Con, wasn't it? He did Spy Master, right?
No, that was Merle Rasmussen. He did Top Secret.
That's
but like Larry Elmore, like so just a lot of these people who were foundational in the TSR era are like still live up in the area, so they come to GaryCon. So it's really cool to kind of.
You can take a short field trip to see the Gary Gygax Memorial.
Yep, and Horticultural Hall where they first had Gen Con. So it's like a kind of a cool convention.
Yeah.
If you're like I'm wondering if I want to go to a convention, but I don't want to go to a big convention like Gen Con. GaryCon's a good one to maybe consider because it's really gaming focused and less.
GaryCon's about twice the size of like Gamehole Con.
Right.
And not almost entirely focused on Adventures League. So
right.
There's a lot of different games playing. You do a lot of miniatures wargaming there.
Yeah. There's a lot of history. So we'll be there.
The first weekend in April is D8 Summit. We'll be there.
Where is that?
It's in Ottawa.
Oh, yeah.
Or Utica, one of them.
Yes.
But it is put on by by a whole team. He would definitely make me say, but the head of that team is Jonathan Connor Self, who recently was on Adventures Wanted, which is the Adventures League podcast. They are mostly an Adventures League convention, but all of the money goes to PADS, which is an organization that focuses on keeping homeless families together.
That's cool.
Through an alternative to the typical foster system. So
wow,
it's an organization we're really excited to support. We'll be there selling whole bean.
Sweet.
And maybe running tables, depending on if I can get somebody to go with me.
And then you guys are doing LEXI CON too, down by Lexington, Illinois.
We're doing LEXI CON. What is that? March 30th, I think.
It's a one-day.
It's a one-day Saturday event. If you're in Lexington, Illinois, or Peoria,
Central Illinois, that area,
or Bloomington, it's like a 40-minute drive. There's a bunch of. I get the feeling it's also maybe it's not AL because it's not a big community for it there, but
a lot of gaming.
My guess is it'll be a day of gaming. We're gonna go sell some coffee there. It's $5 to get in. There's not much of a like. It was $5 to be a vendor.
Nice.
I asked them what the vendor fee was, and they said buy a ticket. So
nice.
It's a really low key event.
Yep.
Hang out, meet some people who are into gaming. Trying to think.
That's awesome.
We might do an event called Gaming Hoopla in Mundelein, but that's still up in the air. We'll see. We'll make posts.
And then, of course, there's D&D in a castle. We'll be there. No, we won't. I'm just kidding. All right, time for Monster Monday. Ryan, we have... Ryan, would you like to...
I'd like my nose to stop running. That's what I'd like.
Would you like the Tome of Foes, the regular Monster Manual, 3rd edition Monster Manual, or... Actually, that's it. I thought I had another Monster
You don't have Volo's Guide over there?
I don't.
All right. Let's do the 3rd edition Monster Manual.
Okay, that's going to be for you.
All right.
And then I am going to bring forth this beautiful thing, which
Ooh.
was donated to the studio by
The
the
Mysterious
Mysterious
Mr.
Mr. B. And I know that the book is the same, but it looks different. Look! It even smells better. That's the 5th edition monster manual.
The baby seal leather cover.
Yeah. You could feel the beholder.
That's a lie. It's not really a baby seal cover leather.
It kind of
Leather.
feels
I don't
smooth.
want to get wizards in trouble.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. We are going to pick a monster and craft. Ready, set, flip, stop. Oh, God. Hags. Wait, didn't we do hags?
No.
No, okay.
We did Displacer Beasts.
There we go. What do you have?
I have either Hydras, Invisible Stalkers, or Kobolds.
Wow. Well, we haven't done any of those, have we?
We haven't.
Jeez. All right, which one are you going to do?
I'm going to do Kobolds because I want to go over some setting stuff.
Okay.
And Kobolds are a little bit different in the Anathema setting.
And kobolds are, they're a playable race, right?
In most systems somewhere.
Is it
in
Tomophos or
5th edition,
Volos?
they're in Volo's Guide.
Okay.
In 3rd edition, they're in Races of the Dragon.
It's funny that this came up because people recently have been like, make a kobold, make a goblin, and I'm like, I've never thought of doing that. Like
Really?
the monster, the little playable monster races, I'm like, meh.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe that'd be cool.
I get a lot of mileage out of like kobolds and goblins. Like,
as NPCs.
well, even like as a player, like playing kobolds and goblins can be a lot of fun because like it's a race that's typically like the minion, right?
Yeah.
So like a lot of it is like finding what you're the minion of,
Right.
and finding the strongest thing in the room.
Yeah, I could see, I could see it being fun as a role to play in a support role to a party where like you establish ahead of time. Yeah. All right. So you do. All right. I need to read this because
Sure.
I don't think I've used a green hag before.
Sure. So while you're doing that, I'll go over kobolds in the Anathema setting. So one of the interesting things, in my opinion, about the Anathema setting is one of my home groups has been playing an entire party of goblins for over a year. That's amazing. That's really exciting. Back in the 20s. I'm glad I'm glad you're back where it's warm, Spec Ops. So kobolds in the Anathema setting are essentially the same as Dragonborn in the Anathema setting, insofar as they are like the tieflings of dragon kind. The difference being that Dragonborn, since the Great Sundering, have been off isolated on their own continent, versus kobolds, which have grown smaller, more frail, and more cave-dwelling because they've been oppressed by actual dragons. So the differences in Kobold and Dragonborn are largely like cousin races that have evolved in different manners over 1,000 years due to environmental concerns. But ultimately, that's what we use them for. I like the idea of a noble kobold or a noble goblin. Trying to take a typically kind of meek and powerless race and give it some teeth. And so that's the exciting thing for me. They're nice. They can be used as minions. In 3rd edition, I was notorious for giving my kobolds character levels and rolling up 12th level barbarian kobolds and whatever else. And it's a nice change of pace because typically when a party sees a kobold or any other like meek minion type race, they expect it to kind of be a rollover and a quick encounter. But when they realize like, oh, these kobolds have stats and teeth behind them, it can make for some very interesting role-playing exercises or last-ditch combat efforts as well. So if I were going to run kobolds, I would find a way to make them stronger than a typical kobold and let my party kind of figure that out as they go, and then find ways to rise above and overcome.
I like that. Now I'm kind of tempted to make a kobold.
They're cool, man. They are one of the only races in 5th edition to get a stat penalty. They get a -2 to strength.
Yeah, but see, you've always said that dump stats are important, and I would agree.
And they have the coolest ability of any racial ability, beg, cower, and grovel, where they take an action to just beg you not to hurt them.
Run away!
And everything else gets advantage on you. Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Mini Terrain Domain said they've been playing a party of goblins for over a year.
Yeah.
So maybe that, I could see it being fun either way.
Yeah.
It's like where you play the goblin or the kobold in a normal party, or you do like them and you do a whole party of kobolds.
I will tell you that one of the con games we ran, the most exciting one we ran with the most like interesting character in it, was a kobold trickster cleric named Terrible, and he killed it. You know, like he really like focused on what made kobolds great and leaned into it, and it worked out. So,
hey, Mini Terrain Domain and DoD Spec Ops, thanks for staying in with us. So, all right, I got the green hag, Brian.
Green hag, not the night hag, not the sea hag. The green one.
And for those of you following along in your monster manual, this is page 177. I'm going to read the first part of this, or reread it rather, because I think this alludes to how I would use the green hag in an encounter. So, the green hag. The wretched and hateful green hags dwell in dying forests, lonely swamps, and misty moors, making their homes in caves. Green hags love to manipulate other creatures into doing their bidding, masking their intentions behind layers of deception. That's the crucial part. They lure victims to them by mimicking voices, calling out for help, or drive unwanted visitors away by imitating the cries of fierce beasts. Obsession with tragedy. Green hags revel in the failings and tragedies of other creatures. They derive joy from bringing people low and seeing hope turn into despair, not just for individuals, but also for whole nations. Wow. All right, so first of all, let's talk about their challenge rating. So CR3, they're not in and of themselves super powerful, but I think in a coven that could be dangerous.
And I think that's true of all the hags, right? Like,
yeah,
they're far more powerful in covens than they are.
Their abilities are pretty crazy. So they're amphibious. So if you're in a swamp, like that's kind of scary. Innate spellcasting. So they get to use dancing lights, minor illusion, vicious mockery. I think used appropriately, those three things in combination can be crazy powerful. I mean, by themselves, whatever, but mimicry, so they can mimic animal sounds and humanoid voices. Then you have illusory appearance, so they can basically illusion themselves to appear a certain way. It doesn't hold up perfectly, so it sounds kind of like a racial disguised self. Mm-hmm. And then invisible passage. The hag magically turns invisible until she attacks or casts a spell, or until her concentration ends. While invisible, she leaves no physical evidence of her passage. So she can be tracked only by magic.
Which is a step better than most invisibility.
That's better than invisibility. Yeah, that's crazy. So, all right. So here's what I was thinking. As I read through this whole layers of deception, reveling in despair, right? The ability to kind of use illusion and mess with people's heads, you know, being the mistress of their own domain kind of thing. This is what I'm going for, right? So in the party's travels, they're forced to kind of come across a choice where it's either go a dangerous route or go another dangerous route. Like there's no easy route, right? And maybe this starts with the hags, right? Maybe the coven sets this up so that the swamp route seems less dangerous. Like this normal forest is horrifically scary because there's rumors of terrible beasts and creatures. And as they're going towards the forest route, if they choose that path, the coven is creating the sounds of those creatures and illusions to trick the party into thinking like, oh crap, the rumors are real. Like we don't want to go there. So then they go around through the swamp, right? Which is what they wanted all along. They capture people and take what they need ultimately, right? So what's the motivation? The green hags basically will use people to get what they need, right? Whether it's little trinkets, actual monetary value, maybe steal their magic items if it's a group of adventurers, food, whatever it is, right? They lure these people into their swamps, and then they just mess with the party, right? Starting with like splitting the party up, okay? And then capturing the weakest member of the party and bringing them back to the cave. But then they interrogate that weakest member of the party, find out what that person sounds like, talks like, looks like, and then they use their coven to like have one of them appear to be the member. So the party's like, oh, let's go over there, and then an animal sound, and they split them up. They continuously split them up. And what the hags would ultimately try to do is find the most good members of the party, right? So your paladin, your hero, your cleric, whatever, and basically mess with them the most. The person who represents hope the most is the one that they really want to mess with, right? So the hag would then appear as maybe like to offer an option. Be like, well, you can rescue your friend who we've kidnapped, but there's a price. You either rescue your friend or this innocent child, and we're going to put the innocent child in a box and submerge them in the water somewhere in the swamp, and if you don't find them in time, the innocent child will drown. And for every 10 minutes that it takes you to find the innocent child, we're going to take off one of your friend's fingers, or some horrific threat, right? And maybe they pull out a finger, an actual finger, and they eat it in front of the party, just so the party knows that they're not messing around. Hags, the way I'm seeing this is they are malevolent, right? They're tricksters. They're malevolent. So if an actual confrontation is going to happen, they'll bounce. They'll use that invisibility. But otherwise, they're going to use all these other powers, the illusory experience, appearance, the mimicry, to mislead the party and spread them out as much as possible and take them down once they're spread out one by one, rob them of all their stuff, torture them, punish them until it gets down to that last person, the goodest, the most good person, the paladin, the cleric, so that they feel like hopeless and like there's no way to win, right? That's what the hag would do. It's really a horrific, nightmarish kind of encounter.
Yeah.
But it can make for like an entire gaming session. That
a
one
whole
swap
gaming session,
encounter.
and there's a lot of RP involved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anytime you can put social interaction and role-playing experience, and there's exploration there too, into what could easily become just a combat-focused adventure, I think is an exciting thing.
And as a DM tip, I mean, yes, the hag's objective is to make things hopeless, but as the DM, you have to balance, right? So you don't want your party to be like, this sucks. There's no way to win, right? Like, you just put us into a TPK. So you have to give them options. You have to, like, let your party try to, if they do it naturally, if they're investigating or they're searching and they're using magic, maybe you drop them little clues as they're successfully doing that lead them to understand that this is a group of hags messing with them and that not everybody is actually captured, or maybe there is no child in a box. So, give them options, give them outs, potential outs, but make them work for it. That's it. That's my green hag.
There you go. Terrifying. Very spooky.
Yes. And that's all for the show. So we hope that you have a great week in gaming. And by the way, if you have any ideas, questions, or comments for us, leave them in the comments below.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Subscribe to the YouTube channel where we have the contents. And thanks for watching.